Hi everyone, welcome back. So I know I've been kind of lacking content lately, but I started school recently, so I have a lot of things kind of going on, but I still have quite a few projects for the website and for the channel, so stay tuned for those. But right now we're in my buddy Jared's Mustang GT. I know, another Mustang, but this one is special, I promise. This is my favorite Mustang I've probably ever been around. And that's saying something because that's above the Shelby even. So today we have a 2013 Mustang GT that is not stock. I will leave a list of his mods in the description because I'm not going to be able to remember all of them. But this should be pretty exciting. This is my favorite generation of the Mustang aside from the old classics like the late 60s, early 70s. But otherwise, this is my favorite modern Mustang. I think it's very aggressive. All of the lines seem to fit more of a muscle car. I'm not saying that I don't like the new body style, because I do. I think they're gorgeous, but this is what feels like the last true muscle version of the Mustang. And part of that is maybe because it's got bolder lines than the newer ones. So you notice, like in my Shelby and my Bullet review, the new Mustangs have more of a sleek body style. It's actually somewhat European. And so this one, you know, sticks more to the roots. Yeah, it's definitely in a modern, updated style. But I just think overall it makes it look a little bit more wide, a little more aggressive, than the new body style does. That'll never get old. One thing I noticed as soon as I climbed into this, it's extremely comfortable. This car is very big inside. The dash comes up really high, and I like that. Because it's not so much like the Camaro where the windows are so small you can't see out of them really, and it still gets that high dash. This just gets the high dash. It's very reminiscent of the old Mustangs, and you still get, you know, pretty good visibility for a car, you know, in this segment. Driving it is actually a lot easier than I anticipated. So when I drove the Bullet Mustang, that one was really tricky to get a hold of. The clutch was extremely heavy in that car, and the shifter was very notchy, very precise, and that's a good thing. But it took a little bit of getting used to. Now, when I left Jared's house with this car, I had a little bit of trouble trying to find reverse and to get out of reverse, and I believe that's due to his short throw shifter, and his shift knob doesn't have a shift pattern. Luckily, he was there to kind of help me out, but I went back and forth in reverse a few times just because I thought I was putting it in first gear, and I wasn't. But eventually I got it figured out. So now driving around, this car is incredibly comfortable. When I drove the newer body style, it was a little bit, I don't know how to put this exactly. It wasn't quite as cushy. Now this has a little bit of a rougher ride, but the seats, I love the seats, and this is one of the few cars I think I would actually prefer the cloth in. The leather, you know, looks great, and it's beautiful, and you know, it does give a little bit more of a higher class feeling, but the cloth is a lot more forgiving, and I like that a lot. This car, I feel like I could road trip this car for, you know, several hours and not really feel fatigued. And that's kind of the beauty of a Mustang. You get all of that performance and the great sound of a Coyote engine, and it's still, you know, it's not, you feel like you're in a race car, but not in the sense where it's killing every part of your body. And that's really refreshing because, you know, you can't really, you can try, but you can't really daily drive a race car. And this is probably as close as you're gonna get to doing that performance-wise. This car, like I had mentioned, has a few upgrades. It has a Boss 302 intake manifold. It's got a custom exhaust. It's tuned. It's basically full bolt-on and tune. So power-wise, Jared said he'd be upset if it didn't make about 430 horsepower to the wheel. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, you know, this isn't a stock Mustang. Hasn't been on a dyno, but Jared's put a lot of work into this car, and even the smaller details you can notice, like the black emblems and the shift knob, and you know, everything just comes together really, really well. I think he did a great job customizing it. Now, getting into this car, I was a little bit nervous about the clutch because I see a Mustang of this generation, and I always, for some reason, just have this notion that it's like incredibly difficult to drive. And I can tell you, it's actually not that bad. I feel like I've gotten used to it pretty quickly. Actually, a lot quicker than Eddie's STI. I know it's, you know, those aren't really two cars to compare. But I mean, I struggled a little bit with Eddie's Subaru, and this one, you know, after driving it a few blocks, I mean, it's really not bad, and I love the feeling of it. I feel very confident with the clutch and the shifter. The short throw is incredible. But I feel like I've driven this car for years, and that's pretty amazing to me, especially when you're getting into a car with this kind of power. You kind of expect to struggle a little bit more, but not so much in this one. I think Jared did an awesome job with the short throw and just the whole driving dynamic of the car. Like I said, he put a lot of work into it, and it definitely shows. So I do have to say, this car is kind of breaking all of my expectations because I hear a lot from Mustang owners that this generation, you know, is the last generation that feels cheap inside. And I guess I can understand where they're coming from. I mean, the plastics and the materials are much better in the newer generation of Mustang. But as far as like the quality of riding, how, you know, the engagement when you're driving is it's actually like a totally different world from the new generation. The new generation has plenty of power. It gives you that awesome, you know, coyote feeling. But it's, you know, it's a little bit more nimble than this chassis. And while that's great, I do love how I feel like at any time, if I disrespect the car, it's gonna, you know, kind of retaliate. So that's kind of a cool feeling. You know you're in something special when you have to really respect what you're doing. And I said that in the Shelby as well. But I can tell, you know, comparing this to the Shelby, it's not exactly an even comparison, but the Shelby lacked a lot of torque, and it made up for it in the high end. This one, it definitely feels more torquey than the Shelby. So I feel like at any time, if I were to put my foot to the floor, I mean, it'd break those tires loose. And Jared has confirmed, you know, that it does do that. If you're really pushing it, it will light up the tires like nothing. So that's kind of a cool thing that this generation of Mustang has over the new one. You know, it's not, the handling of it is not even close to the new generation, but the feeling of it is more of that classic muscle car feeling. And I think that's why a lot of people, including myself, love this generation so much. It's the aggressive styling, it's the fear almost of getting behind the wheel, knowing that at any moment, if you're an idiot, the car's gonna bite you. And that's a really special feeling you don't get with a lot of cars anymore. And now with prices in this generation dropping for the Coyote, you know, it becomes a little bit easier to get your hands on. Now, what worries me is that these prices are dropping and they're going to go into the hands of, you know, like high school kids or, you know, people like that. And not saying that all high school kids drive like idiots, but I know that I did. And, you know, at that point, you know, they have all this power and then they can just break the tires loose at any moment. I mean, there's a reason that the Mustang has kind of this reputation online of being the crowd killer. And I feel bad because it's not always the car's fault. You have to know that when you're getting into this generation of Mustang that it is, you know, it's ready to go at the drop of a hat. And if you're willing to just put your foot to the floor, it's going to break the tires loose, and you have to know that you need to correct it when it comes time. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that when getting in. They think, oh yeah, I bought a Mustang, I'm the fastest thing in the world, so I'm just going to go floor it all over town, and that's where we get the crowd killer memes from. And that's no fun. That's kind of really unfair to Mustang owners, I feel. And I mean, obviously, I'm sure they just kind of blow by it. Everyone's heard all the Mustang memes by now. So we'll do a little poll. Yeah, there's the Coyote engine is one of my favorite engines on the market today. The sound is incredible. The power band is linear and it feels fantastic. This will always probably be one of my favorite cars. I want this generation of Mustang. So I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, and I really would like to compare it to the newer body style Mustang, just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from, and why I like this generation so much. Alright, so now we're in Brandon's S550 Mustang, and this is a base with a performance pack, so it gets the Brembos and the strut tower brace, and a few other nice options. Now, I want to compare this like completely to Jared's, just because they are very similar cars, and right off the bat I can tell you that while Jared's shifting felt a little bit smoother than this one, this clutch is a lot more forgiving than his, and so that's kind of nice. Everything feels a little bit tighter, more planted in this car. Interior quality is night and day different, and it's a long ways from the S197 chassis. And along with that, the noise cancellation here too is also quite a bit different. Now, his exhaust isn't as loud as Jared's, but it's pretty close. But everything ride quality wise and sound deadening wise is just so much different from the last generation. Ford really kind of upped their game with the next generation of Mustang, and you can definitely tell just, you know, driving it normally throughout town as well. So driving it around town, everything feels a lot more direct. His brakes are incredible, and they definitely take some getting used to. The Brembos in this car are a lot touchier than the Brembos in Jared's car, and which is kind of strange because this car is actually heavier than Jared's, and everything about it feels much lighter. The steering is way more direct. It goes exactly where you want it to. So you can tell that the advancements in the engineering in this car, really, they came a long way from prior generations. This now feels like an all-around sports car, rather than just something that can do good in a straight line. This can kind of do it all, and it's comfortable enough to, you know, drive it on a long road trip and, you know, not have to worry about breaking your back. And as far as like space inside, it's got plenty of it. Jared's feels a little bit bigger, but that could also just, you know, be the styling. I actually think this car feels a little bit wider than Jared's, but as far as interior, it feels a little bit smaller. And as far as interior quality goes, it feels actually like they're almost catching up to European build quality in a way. There's still some cheaper materials, but everything in this, you know, they've kind of strayed away from all of the hard plastics. Everything's more of a soft touch material now. You have the really nice design across the dash rather than just plain plastic. So overall, I think this car is just a little bit better put together, and it seems like you get more for your value in this one. Now, if you're looking for something that's just like more of a raw feeling, I think the S197 chassis feels a little bit more raw than the S550, but I definitely think that the S550 is more livable. I'm not saying that it's more tame. I'm just saying that everything handles a little bit better. It can soak up bumps a little better, and everything feels a little bit better put together. And I think that's really important to note when you're deciding between these two cars, because these S550 chassis, they're not, you know, they're newer, so they haven't depreciated as much as the S197. But if you're looking for a car that's going to be, you know, feel a little bit more higher quality, and it's going to give you a little bit more driver confidence, I would definitely sway towards the S550 chassis. So as you can see, I'm wearing a Redline Media t-shirt. If you would like one, please let me know. Leave a comment, shoot me a message on Facebook. Anything to get a hold of me, let me know if you'd like one. I am trying to launch a store from the website, but it's taking a little bit more time than I anticipated. So if you want one of these, please shoot me a message, let me know. We can do them in multiple colors. I have this one made currently and also a red one, and they came out great. So let me know if you want one of those. Make sure you leave me a comment, let me hear your feedback. Check out the website. Like I said, I'm adding stuff to that here and there, and let me know if you guys have any suggestions. Otherwise, I appreciate your support and have a great day.